Hello, hello, hello. You get glitter stitches, and I get glitter stitches, and our projects get glitter stitches. I'm the Knitting Fairy Godmother, and I'm so glad that you could join us. Why don't you go get your project and you can knit along while I talk about the Knitafesto? While you're getting your project, I want to quickly remind you that I have the Knitting Circle Society that starts in January. It's 3 months of classes where we get to knit into the wonder and the magic of knitting together. So it's a virtual experience. All of the videos and content is recorded. You have access to that information for a lifetime. So there's no pressure to keep up, although we would love for you to participate in the community, which is one of the other things that I love about knitting. Um, yeah, I have the website in the comments. We'd love for you to join us. So the project I'm working on today, speaking of community, is a mystery knit along. I don't know what I'm making, although I can infer. I can use my knitter's intuition to figure out that I'm making a rectangle shawl, but I don't know what it's going to turn out to look like. So it's a mystery. And I started it with some of my friends and they've finished theirs, but I'm still plugging along. I move at my own pace. So it's the knitter's life. What can I say? Um, Today we're going to talk about the last Knitafesto that magic exists. And it's kind of heavy, but it's kind of whimsical, right? Like when we think about magic, we're making something, a scarf, a hat, mittens, a sweater. We're making something tangible out of a rolled up ball of string, right? So that in and of itself is kind of magical that we're taking this ball. It's not a tangled mess, but it's just string in one form and creating a different form. So that's pretty magical that we can do that with two sticks, right? The technology for knitting hasn't changed basically since historians can identify that knitting started. So it's another magical thing is that the technology to knit hasn't changed. I mean, we have developed new materials that we can use and better ways to manufacture things with a standard way, but sticks and string are all that it takes to knit. And magic exists. So I'm thinking about things like the idea of Santa and a child's wonder and awe around Santa Claus, and how that is such a fun, magical mystery that we've all grown up with, and the idea of that. And we use fairy dust sort of as a confidence booster and a getting ready ritual. When you get special glitter stitches, you feel that in your heart and in your soul and in your body. And that's my intention, is that we can all come together and sort of get a sprinkle of that magic and that fun, that lighthearted way. Not that knitting has to be serious all the time, but there is wonder, awe, and fun in the experience of knitting. Another part of the magic is the creativity piece. Books have been written on the intangible way that ideas come to us, the inspiration, working with the muse. Artists are very poetic about talking about the source of inspiration and how to find it and how to express your inspiration, the muse of inspiration, this intangible flavor. Everyone knows what inspiration is or feels like, but try to express it in words, and it's almost impossible. people try, and it's really good. It's fun. It's a fun topic to talk around, but it's very difficult to express. But we all know what that feels like, and that universal feeling is magical, right? And then talking about the archetypes of a fairy tale and a castle and magic, a fairy godmother, the good witch versus the bad witch. There's always an element of magic and things that we can explore and get whimsical and creative about, right? I'm thinking of the fairy tale where the character's spinning the gold thread and the spinning wheel comes back to a fiber. It comes back to a fiber space. In Greek mythology, I think it's Penelope, it's theorized that every night she had to rip her weaving out, and that's sort of the way that we've read that myth, but that somewhere over the thousands of years of translation, weaving was the word used for knitting. And she was actually ripping her knitting out every night. And so that is magical and wonder and awe. And the last thing I want to talk about is that this capital M magic, the proper noun of what magic is to you, doesn't even really matter. But on a universal level, we can all agree that it exists. And whether that's the golden rule for you or the wonder and awe of feeding your cat and how happy your cat is to eat dinner every night, and that you make that possible. So, the dogma, all of the ways that we muddy up the idea of magic don't really serve us. So we're taking what works in our knitting and then letting go of the rest. And so for our knitting, with me, the Knitting Fairy Godmother, it's magical fairy tales and a little bit of fun and sprinkles of glitter stitches. That's our magic. And that we get to explore and make new things out of sticks and string, which is like a magic wand, right? So, oh, and of course, Harry Potter, like that's such a popular way of expressing magic. And it really brought in some of the whimsy and the fun and the lighthearted aspects of magic. So that is the Knitifesto, that magic exists. And I hope you can join us next week. We're going to start something new and different. I can't wait to talk about that and see how that evolves. But if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment below. All right, everyone, keep knitting. We'll see you next week.